D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I'm gonna review the Last of Us. I didn't think I was gonna review this show, but I needed another show to watch and review, and I knew I was gonna watch this show. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just review it like a review, just give you my thoughts on it and everything instead of doing a breakdown, because apparently Warner Brothers or HBO, yeah, Warner Brothers, they're gonna be very they're gonna crack down on people using still frames from the episode, and I'm all like, ooh, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't like that stuff. I like doing YouTube videos, and I don't want to get my channel canceled or anything like that, and I don't want to strike or anything like that. So I'm just going to give you my overall thoughts on this show and just tell you what I think. I mean, I'll go through the episode, but not like where I'll have like the visuals. I'll put up stuff and everything. So this first episode, I can't tell if I like this show from this one episode, or if I just think it's like another Andor where it's like boring, but you have a couple of good moments. For this episode, I thought the good moments were at the beginning when the outbreak starts, and it started in 2003, which I was all like, I was alive then, because I'm alive now. But then we get Joel's daughter, Sarah, and she goes to the neighbor's house, and there's this old lady, right? And it's traveled through a fungus, and they, at the beginning of the show, they have this, like, from the 60s, this guy explains these ants and how they get taken over by this fungus and it invades their brain, and then they just become like little puppets of the fungus, and which is an actual thing, which I knew before this show started. I knew that information, but I'm curious as to how this thing spread, because the whole time watching the show, like, this thing spread like that. Like, it was one and done. Like, everybody had it. And I'm like, how did this old lady get it? Who was obviously, I can't remember the right word, but she obviously couldn't. Is it catatonic? I don't know. She couldn't move. Like, she was stuck in that wheelchair and everything. So she was just like just wheelchair bound. She was, not cognizant. She was not like reacting to people and stuff. So the whole time I'm just like, whatever. I do want to say, though, well, I'll talk about the characters in a minute, because some of the characters I did like a lot, and yeah. So then this whole thing breaks out, and real quick, I did not play the game, so I'm going into this fresh. I don't know anything about this thing. I mean, I do know it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of show, and there's these zombie-like creatures or whatever, and I watched the trailer, and I'm all like, oh, okay, they looked, a good thing for me to say would be, this is a good mix of Children of Men mixed with the Maze Runner series, and then throw a little Walking Dead in there, because they did capture the visuals of Walking Dead a lot, kind of. So yeah. So then this virus breaks out, and Joel, his daughter Sarah, and then his brother Tommy, they all flee because they're all like, what's going on? We need to get out of here, right? And so they're going through the town, and the town is like overtaken, and it's overtaken like that. And they really didn't, in my opinion, didn't show, like, even that action sequence was kind of a little lackluster for me personally. Like, I was like, this is interesting and stuff, but at the same time, I just go, I don't understand how it spread so fast. And I just did a little synopsis of the game, and apparently it spreads through spores, and so they all have to wear gas masks, which they didn't do this in this show. So I'm curious, again, I'm just curious as to how this spread so fast, like so fast. Especially without anybody noticing it, like, because mold spreads, but mold, you'll notice it spreading unless it's like underneath your house, or it's like in your basement that you don't go down to, or it's like it's hidden. Because I've had it to where mold has like spread, but we stopped it like right away because we noticed it. We were like, what's that? And then we called somebody, and they're like, yeah, that's mold. And then they like tore down some paneling, and they were like, it's a good thing you caught this, because this could have been really, really bad. And me, I'm like, oh, okay, great. Cause yeah, that would have been so like bad. Okay, so anyway, so they're fleeing through the town. Tommy and Joel and Sarah get separated. And they run in and they get into a car accident and Sarah hurts her foot, right? And then I'll jump to the future in a minute. Just give me 2 seconds. And so because this part was actually like touching, not touching, but anyways, okay, so he's carrying his daughter, and one of the little like clackers, but they don't clack yet, I don't think. I don't know. But he's running after him, and first off, Joel does not shut any doors behind him, which I was like, shut the door behind you, because maybe it'll take him a little bit more time to get to you. And the zombie thing was just running into stuff and just like falling over itself. Like he was like, and everything. And I'm all like, what's going on? It was a little like it was like intense, but at the same time, I was like, P.S. I don't hate any of this so far. I don't hate it. I'm just telling you, like, I was just all like I was like, Joel, close the door. Joel, close that door. And then the thing, I was like, why is it running into everything? But I guess maybe because it was like a new, fresh zombie. So then finally they run into a soldier, and the soldier's all like, hands up kind of thing. And he's like, we're not sick. And the soldier's all like, he's getting a little intercom. He's like, what'd you say, sir? And he's got a gas mask on. And he's like, what'd you say, sir? And he's all like, are you sure? And he's all like, the girl's hurt. And you find out later on that if you get, because there's another little boy in the future, that if you get bit in the leg, that it like when you get bit, it just takes time. And the leg, like the leg and the ankles or whatever, and her ankle was like hurt or whatnot. So maybe they knew that. I don't know. Anyways, so he goes to shoot them, but Joel like turns and then they roll down a hill, and then the soldier's like, I'm sorry. And then Tommy comes in and he bangs the soldier, right? And then he goes to Sarah, and she's been shot in her stomach and she bleeds out. And that part was really, really sad. Like, I didn't cry, but I kind of choked up a little bit. I was like, because I have a daughter, and like, it's just, when you're a dad and you have a kid, you just like, you kind of like have different emotions about stuff. I know people that don't have kids are just like, whatever, little girl died, whatever kind of thing. But it did set the motion that like this is real. Like, in real life, children's would not be exempt from, the horrors of the world, even though they are in movies and TV shows sometimes. Okay. So we flash forward to 20 years later. It's 2023. And I was all like, oh man, this is like, I was like, they flashed forward 20 years. I'm like, 20 years? And they're in Boston, and Boston is like, and this is where it comes into, like I said before, the children of men kind of thing, because people are just basically living to survive and everything. And the Federal Disaster Response Agency, FEDRA, have taken over the city, and it's kind of like it's a quarantine zone, and it is like martial law. So they even have like public executions, because if you leave the city and you come back, that's a no-no. It's a no-no, because you can't leave the quarantine zone and there's like 3 people, then they're about to be hanged. And this little kid shows up, and they bring him into the city, and then they do a little test on him, and he shines red. And then the lady was like really nice, because he has a bite on his knee. And she's all like, yeah, I'm going to give you some medicine, and once we're done, I'm going to take you to a place where I'll give you whatever you want to eat, and you can play with as many toys as you want. It's going to be great and everything. And the whole time I'm just like, and then later on when Joel and some other woman, they're putting bodies into a fire, you see the kid, and I'm just like, that's so sad. But I do like that it didn't exempt even children from the horrors of the real world, because in the real world that would happen and it would suck. But that's how it would go down. So I did like that portion of it. All right, now let me get into the rest of this. Okay. So the rest of this episode was kind of boring. Like, I was just very much like, I'm stuck in an episode of Andor where we see a lot of walking. However, okay, so I did like Tess. I did like her character, okay? Because she gets captured by, or like, grabbed by this guy. I don't remember his name, but he was going to sell them a battery to get into a truck so they could get out of the city, so they could go find Tommy. Apparently, Tommy had joined the Fireflies and he left Boston, apparently. I'm not quite sure. They didn't explain everything very well. So he goes to this radio guy and he's like, I haven't heard anything from Tom. And he's like, where's the tower that they were communicating from? And he's like, in Wyoming. And he's like, I'm going. He's like, you'll never survive. And he's like talking about how there are raiders and then there are slavers. And it was very much like, I was like, oh man, humanity like really devolved real quick. But I guess that's how it would go down, because it's like, there's no internet, there's no nothing. You're just trying to survive and everything, getting your tickets. So so Tess, let me go into the characters and how they play through this one. First off, Nico Parker as Sarah Miller was really good. I saw that they had changed the race. They changed the race of Joel and Sarah, which I was fine with. But I did like Nico Parker as Sarah. I thought she was I was kind of bummed that her character died, because I thought that as an actress, she was very good. I enjoyed her immensely. I hope to see her in more things. Yeah, she did such a great job. Oh, real quick, I want to talk about Tess. Okay, so she gets like beat up by this guy, Robert, and he's all like, I feel like you're gonna be mad at me because I double crossed you. And he's like, that wasn't my plan. And she's like, listen, dude, you double crossed me. You sold me a battery. I gave you the money, and then you sold it to somebody else. All right. Life sucks. I want to get out. And he's like, yeah, but I'm afraid you're going to tell your man, which is Joel, and he's going to be mad. He's going to be taken out on me. And she's like, listen, and she's like, maybe your guy shouldn't have roughed me up a little bit. But she's like, listen, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll tell Joel I got beat up by some dudes and I don't know who they were, kind of thing. And then they get bombed by the Fireflies or whatnot. So this whole time, Ellie is being held up by Marlene and the Fireflies, because Ellie she's like the cure to the virus, because her body, she has the virus inside her, but it's not taking over her body. Like, it's been more than 24 hours. She's able to have cognizant, whatever. She's able to talk or whatnot, and everything's good to go. I've been talking too long. So long story short, the Fireflies, they have a gun. They have a shootout or whatnot. And they leave. Tess, Ellie, and Joel leave Boston to go in search for Tommy, and Ellie promises she won't turn, because Tess realizes she's infected, because they get stopped by a soldier, because Joel is he's a hustler kind of thing. And they enter the biological contamination like zone or whatever, and they flee the city of Boston. And I think Fedra might come after them. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I didn't play the games. I wouldn't go after him, because I'd be like, good luck, honey. And then there's like a radio song playing, and there's a code, like if it's 60s, it's like 60, 50s, 60s, it's like 60s, 70s, 80s or whatever. And 80s mean danger or whatever. And if it plays on the radio, that means there's danger. And the end song is an 80s song. It's like Depeche Mode or whatever, and it's an 80s song. And then it ends with a picture of the city behind them, and there's like a collapsed building on top of one, or like dominoes kind of thing, but it didn't fall over. And I have to say, like, it was a little underwhelming in terms of action. Like, I get that they're setting it up, but like, my wife and I watched it. My wife also never played the game, and she thought it was a little boring, like in terms of it just kind of dragged. It was very long for a first episode and not much given, in terms of like information, in terms of action. I understand that they were trying to get in on the human side of it. But for me personally, I just felt that, yeah. So Joel, being played by Pedro Pascal, was a little underwhelming to me. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was a little underwhelming. I did like that he was kind of like a man's man and kind of like a hard worker. Like when he came home from work and he's like, they sent us the wrong whatever and everything, so we had to, fix that kind of thing. I liked that. I liked that, he was a blue collar kind of guy. And then when the whole thing happened, even though he's in the Children of Men verse, he was still hustling. He was still working his way. He's like, I'll take any job, even shoveling shit, just to make, my money so I can get this truck, so I can save my brother kind of thing. I really liked that. But Pedro Pascal really didn't wow me in this one, if you will. Like this wasn't like Game of Thrones where I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. So overall, this episode wasn't bad, but it was just very mediocre for me. I'm not like, I don't think that it was a bad show, and I'll watch it because I'll cover it like this and everything. But yeah, overall, it was pretty good. I didn't hate it, but I'm not like, oh my God, you need to watch this or The Last of Us. I kept calling it This Is Us, and my wife kept getting confused. But I was like, but I won't be like, you need to watch The Last of Us. It's so good. It was so good. I was riveting, because it wasn't. But again, I will be watching it just so I can see, because maybe it might get better. It might get better. Maybe they'll explain these clackers better. All right, guys, those are my thoughts on that. Sorry I kept you so long and everything, but tell me what you guys think about this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you play the game? How does it differ from the game in this first episode? I'm gonna go and watch the cutscenes and see what's going down and everything. But tell me what you guys thought. Go ahead and leave your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next, maybe a breakdown. I don't know. We'll see. But my review for The Last of Us. You guys have a good week. Bye.